Just take one hit. Don't you want to be cool?
Gather round everyone. The show's about to begin.
Turn on, tune in, drop out, this show's amazing. It's Super Lemon Haze, you know them boys always blazing. Put one in the air, fill your glass and get to raising. Kirkman praising, school flag waving. Chopping up the topics instead of choking on some chronic. Scott and Eric breaking it down like 21st century prophets. Eyes glazed and minds dazed, it's knowledge they convey. Roll up and consume the Super Lemon Haze.
Super Lemon Haze.
Going to ask you several questions.
Super Lemon Haze.
How do you feel?
I feel like a slice of butter melting on top of a big old pile of flapjacks. Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Super Lemon Haze. It's been a pretty get closer to that mic, buddy. I can't hear shit if you're that far away.
Yep.
It's been a pretty amazing week. We had episode 2 finished over a week ago, and those fuckers were holding on to that video. And for whatever reason, I emailed them 5-6 times. I emailed the producers. I emailed fucking Mike. I emailed the interns. Nobody was getting back to me. I had no idea what the fuck they were doing with that episode.
You had to get into beast mode.
I did. So I fucking rallied up the troops, got some great support. Shout out to some of the Mincel intels, because those guys fucking had my back.
I learned a lot about the Mincels this week.
I know,
their
man.
support. It was excellent. It was great to see.
So yeah, so finally, no response, not a single response. All we heard was, all right, now we'll post it. So I'm not sure what's going on. We'll figure this whole thing out.
And I'm kind of an outsider to all of this, right? I don't really take any sides. I'm just here for my cause. It seems like they caved under the pressure.
100%.
The Mincels added them a couple of times. A couple guys were like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Caved.
That's exactly what happened. And
You're being nice there.
I know. Well, so I have to actually give some personal thank yous to John from Scranton, because John he watched our episode, because that's been the hardest thing, I think, is just to get people to not just say, hey, we like these guys, put them up, but actually back up there, put them up with the content, saying that this is good shit. This should absolutely be on the channel. I think that's what happened this week. So
yeah,
that was the leap.
It was great.
Yeah. So the episode aired. We got some amazing feedback. Some people were tweeting at us. Some people were emailing me individually, and I'm psyched, man. So we're back. I also want to say that, and I tweeted this out, but I'm now a card carrying motherfucker. As we promised in the beginning, it was, this was a journey that we both wanted to go on. But, when we were exploring the concept of doing this podcast, one of the first things that I said to Scott was I wanted to go through the process and actually figure out a way to get certified so that I could enter into the medical marijuana program and potentially just explore and experiment with some of their products and see if that's going to help me with some of my stuff. And I think, again, this fucking virus, man, this whole shutdown just gave me the time, the energy, and the focus to just get it done. So that's actually going to be the next episode, because I documented everything that led up to getting extra certification and also buying my first products in the store, which is like this nice little guy. And I took pictures of everything. I recorded most of it. I got people's approval, so it's not like
you did a good job with the call. I think you did a good job of getting her to lay out CBD a little bit and sort of how she would treat some folks and how you would take your first steps in. So yeah, it's good stuff. I previewed it a little bit this morning on my on my early morning workout, and I was impressed. Nice work laying that out for them.
I actually went into it like as a patient. I didn't really try to. Even though I knew I was recording it with her approval, I really wanted to just get the full experience as if I was just some green dude who wanted this for the first time, never even like having any. I mean, I do have some exposure, but it's mostly just our
No,
conversation.
you asked typical good questions
Yeah.
and like kind of just newbie stuff, and you just, I think, if anything, you just sort of you took your notes and laid it out well, which would, you kind of covered.
Yeah.
Anybody that would have missed a few, you got them all, which was good.
Yeah.
It'll be some good content.
Yeah, so the next episode is going to be, the first piece is going to be the call with the physician who actually certified me, and then Scott and I did a 30-minute
shouting at each other session about all the awesome shit on the menu, which was pretty fun. So
yeah, so we did. So Scott, like I said, I think earlier in some of our earlier episodes, is sort of a consultant. He, he's an executive, a professional in another field, but he has been doing this and experimenting with this long enough where he's actually given a lot of people some excellent advice. And so I treated myself as if I was one of his clients looking for some advice. So we did a 30-minute call again, where I was just, playing the new patient and Scott was doing his thing. And so that's going to be the middle part of it. And then
it was a little more boisterous and aggressive than a typical conversation
with
the boys, but it was, it was good. We just kind of went through the menu, screen shared, and just kind of, shouted at some stuff and gave us some ideas for you.
Yep. Came up with a plan. And then we executed the plan. I went to the store, made my appointment, and I spent about 30 minutes inside.
You did wind up it was 30 minutes, huh?
Yeah. Well, again, that was me. I think most people that
you stretched
because I was there long enough to actually see the flow. And I think now obviously I'll go a lot quicker. And I think again, because I did have the mic with me, I wanted to make sure that I got as much as I could out of the experience.
I'm sure they all know who you are now.
Well, to be honest, like
just like that.
But after time, I forgot that I even was doing this, and like I don't know, man. Like they all, like the thing about that place too, and I don't have any pictures from. I wasn't allowed to film it per se, but I recorded my conversations.
And you talked to them about recording. They were cool with that.
Yeah, they were loosely cool about it. So I'm gonna chop it up, and I'll obviously de-identify. I'll take out any names. So it's just gonna sound as though like we were having a conversation, but not knowing. I don't know. I mean, like. They're gonna fucking arrest me for recording a conversation about my experience in my first time in a what do you call that? A weed shop or like
a medical marijuana dispensary? Get your shit right. Come on. Yeah. Who do you think you are?
No one's gonna get me for that. So anyway, we have an exciting show today. Some of the good feedback that we got from the first episode that we put on the Kirk Minahan show was people were DMing me about the gun that I broke out, and I was explaining to everybody how I came about buying that gun and the person who I was speaking with to get the advice and everything, and we got that guy on today, and he's the baddest motherfucker I've ever met.
Nice. Unsafe. Face outboard. Load him up. Nice. Move! 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 Stop! Well done. Grab that.
I think you guys are going to enjoy the conversation we're about to have. So, anything you want to do, Scott, or say before we bring Francis in?
Let's do it.
No? All right. Here we roll. Francis, you there, brother?
What's happening, guys?
Yeah.
How you doing, Francis?
I'm doing well. I don't know about that intro though, because
you didn't like that
bad at all.
You are the baddest motherfucker I've ever known in my entire life,
dude.
I say that like it's with all my heart though and love, but there's not like I would say, there's not a single person. I mean, if I was ever in trouble, and I said this to you, in this fucking crazy world we live in right now, if there was ever a place I needed to go, it's your house.
Oh yeah, definitely get to me, but we're going someplace else once you get here.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. But you're a part of the equation, is what I'm trying to say. So we might have.
I'm here.
Right. So I think that what I wanted to just in the beginning, just to introduce yourself, and what I would love for you to just talk about is kind of who you are, what you do for a living, and then we can kind of get into a lot of the the firearm stuff, which is really what I wanted. That's the real reason why I wanted to get you on this, was to talk about some of that stuff. But can you just give us a little bit of your background and who you are and what you do?
No problem. My name is Francis. I've been a professional dog trainer for 23 years now. That's my craft, my trade, and pretty much, that's really what I'm really good at. However, I want to say about 9 or 10 years ago, I started showing some interest into firearms because of some of the law enforcement people that I work with. They had kind of exposed me to, potentially taking some classes and getting my LTC. And I went through the process. And about 6 years ago, I got my license to carry, and I haven't looked back since. It's been an awesome ride.
So what was your experience with firearms then prior to? Was it just you had friends who own them? Did you go to the ranges? Were you skilled before you decided to go through the courses and learn about them?
Believe it or not, my path was kind of different than most, because when I went to get my LTC, I was denied initially because they said my certificate for proof of citizenship was not valid.
What?
It was my U.S. passport. Believe it or not, the town that I live in, I won't bring it up, but the town that I live in said that it wasn't valid at all. So I had to go through some hoops. Pretty much I had to get a lawyer. I didn't want to go that route, but I had to get a lawyer. The lawyer definitely said it's his U.S. passport, it's his proof of citizenship. And then we went forward. I was able to get my LTC after that pretty smoothly, but that was the initial hiccup. So it took, even though I started the process 10 years ago, I applied, I got denied, and then I kind of backed off the whole process because it seemed like it was going to be a little bit harder than most. So I think that's what they were looking for. And to their credit, it definitely did work. But then after that, I started taking a bunch of firearms classes from some great instructors. Tactical Dynamics, Paragon Training Group, 6 Hour Academy. I pretty much started, molding me and teaching me the correct way. And then from there, I ended up getting, my LTC at that point. But I was taking classes. I had probably done maybe 100 to 200 classes before I even got my LTC.
Sorry to stop you though. I guess, because I don't have an LTC, but it's definitely something that Scott and I have actually discussed this as well. And I told you that we're going to go get this done once it's open and once we're allowed and the classes are enrolling again. But so when you say you've been to that many classes, like how many hours are we talking about? So how much training are you getting per class? And does each class also offer a unique skill?
Yeah, the classes are probably like 8 hours long. So
seriously, a whole fucking day, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
So break it down. So what does that look like? So if you're joining a class, and so again, before you start, but you don't have to have a license to carry if you're joining these classes. Are they, or you do? Do you need a license to do it?
Most of the classes that are out there, at the time that I was training, I think it's pretty much still standard now. Pretty much what they would do is they'll have you fill out some information. I know 6 Hour runs a background check on you, and a lot of the other classes do as well. But what they'll do is they'll loan you, depending on most people start out with just a typical handgun class, and they do like handgun 101. And pretty much what they'll do is they'll, have a loaner handgun. You'll go through all the basic safety stuff. That beginner class, I mean, even though it's like 8 hours, you're probably only shooting like 20 to 25 rounds. It's nothing that crazy. But then after that, you're starting to, pretty much spend more time out on the range and less time out in the classroom. But the first few classes, it's mostly classroom because, you're going over safe handling procedures and, pretty much just going over the whole, overview of the firearm.
How many classes did you say you took? What did you say?
Before I got my LTC, I would say over, geez.
Did you say 100?
Or hours wise? Yeah, hours wise.
Over 100 classes easily, if not 200.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you're talking like 800 hours basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily.
And so, I mean, that doesn't sound like an average, like that sounds like above and beyond what most people would be able to to afford in time and maybe even money. So like what? So
Most definitely,
was that just because you?
definitely, financially, I was able to afford it, but it was one of those things that I was very, very serious about. And
Yeah,
we're dealing with a firearm that could, potentially,
yeah,
take my own life or someone else's life. So I wanted to make sure that I was definitely, you know, doing all that I could do to make sure that I was, going to be able to handle it in a proficient manner. So I
yeah,
did more than most, and a lot of the guys that I, still consistently meet up with and train with, they're still taking classes. We all still take classes, and it's one of those things that's,
yeah.
it's a perishable skill. So continuing education on it is, is huge.
Hmm. What's the average cost to a course? Do you think? Just curious. Is it about 100,
Depends,
200 bucks?
about 200
Yeah,
bucks,
yeah.
about 200 bucks. Yeah.
It's
You
a
can
crazy
you
investment.
can get some
So would you say that I'm sorry to stop you. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, you can get some deals and stuff like that. So one of the groups that I was part of, Tactical Dynamics, used to have like a it's almost like a program. So you pay
Hmm.
a big amount up front, but then you're able to
Hmm.
take all the classes that you want, unlimited amount of classes. So
Gotcha.
it's like a gym membership
Kind
almost. And
I was say like a membership.
yeah, I don't know if they still offer
Yeah,
that, but that was huge because then,
yeah,
if I had the weekend off, I was taking a class,
yeah. Right.
so that made it.
So 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 would you say then after you went through the lawyer process, which that also must, so you're saying that was kind of a headache. Was that also
A
like a
major
really expensive thing to do?
No, believe it or not,
It wasn't?
the group that I contacted, they're used to people in our state, having issues.
Mhm,
So they went after the town, free of charge.
mhm.
You know, if they,
No.
if they ended up going into a lawsuit where they would have definitely got money from that.
So when you say our state, so obviously we live in Massachusetts. So what it is it because it's a very like liberal state and that's why it
Yeah,
was that much more
Massachusetts has
challenging? So it
some
was
interesting, gun laws, so and processes to go about, getting your LTC. So it's not the state. The state is the one that issues the license, but you have to go through. Each town is different.
Mhm,
So depending on where you live, the process could be nice and easy. You go, you show up,
mhm,
you show them your I won't use names, but a buddy of mine
mhm,
went. He never even brought his proof of citizenship. He just brought
mhm,
his license, and
mhm,
he gave his paperwork, did his fingerprints, had his
mhm,
certificate, and he was able to get
mhm.
licensed within a month or two.
Gotcha. So it wasn't necessarily the state, but it was the town that you live in
It's
that
the
that
town,
was
yeah, and depending on the town, there's
gotcha.
certain towns that are called red towns where, like,
Mhm,
be very, very hard, and there's certain towns that are green towns that are gonna be very, very,
mhm,
and they're not
mm,
listed, like, you won't, you can't go to your town and say, "Hey, are you a red town?" or whatever. If you looked on, like,
mhm,
certain websites, they'll have, you know,
mhm.
what towns are green, what towns are red, what towns in between,
Yeah.
what towns are unknown.
And it's obviously it's based on where you store the gun or where you live, like,
We
so
live
where you live. So if you live in this town, you have to go through that process.
absolutely
It's
this
not like because
town,
even if you, like, only kept your guns and stored them at, like somewhere like in another town, you basically just you can't go through that town's process. You have to go through your own
yeah,
because that's where you
you
live.
live in, because that's where your guns need to be stored, because it's illegal to do
Uh,
the other thing.
yeah.
Like, if you say, unless you had a property. So if I had a property,
Mm,
in, on the Cape, I could
mhm,
technically, go through, getting my license through the Cape. I could potentially
mhm,
do it that way, but it's not, ideal, but you could potentially do it because I have a
mm.
property there. So
Oh, so
I,
you can't store guns at, like, a range, basically was what I was trying to say.
mm,
No,
no,
you can't leave anything there.
yeah,
Hmm,
you got to bring it home.
right. So after you got that license then, so your primary motivation was it more safety that is that what you're saying? Just to go
It's
through all
more
those courses to get
safety.
the education?
The law enforcement, community. I do a lot of work with the canine units in this state, and a lot of
Mhm,
the guys, I hear, exactly the stuff that they have to deal with. I know, that crime is out there, and I just wanted to make sure that I could keep, myself and my family safe. So,
yeah,
I went through the process and I decided, like, okay, this is definitely something I want to do. That's why, I took
mhm,
all the classes. I still don't even think that it was enough,
mhm,
even though I did more than most, I still,
mhm,
consistently, taking classes, even to this day. But that my primary motivation was, the family and myself.
Yeah. So would you say, do most average folks who just want to get that license to carry and buy a firearm for protection, are most people just going through like 1 or 2 courses just to get that gun and then that's it?
Yep.
They don't go back?
Majority of people do the safety course,
Yeah.
which is required to even fire the gun, unless you
Yeah.
live, I think, Brookline and Boston. There might be another town in the state that requires it, but I know Boston, and you definitely have to do live fire, and I think Brookline. I'm not 100% sure about any others, but the majority of the towns. So, like, you figure,
So I'm sorry to just so Francis, so live fire means that
you actually have to go shoot.
a part of the course you have to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
And you're shooting a gun at targets?
Yes.
And there's like a score involved. So if you don't hit
Not
that score,
necessarily a score. They just want to make sure that you. I think Boston does have a score, but most of the towns that actually require live fire, there's not really a scoring process. They just want to make sure
Gotcha.
they can, handle the firearm safely.
Yeah.
So after most people do that, they will go through the whole process of getting the license, which can take anywhere from a month to 6 months, depending on how busy that town is. And then after that, I think most people just go out and buy a firearm.
So when you say how busy the town is, it's like a process of it's just processing paperwork is what you're saying?
It has to go through state and federal.
Yeah.
All your fingerprints go through a federal database. Your fingerprints go through the state database. Then it comes back from the state. The state police issues the license, and your town.
So how the fuck did you get through that? Because I know your fingerprints are all over those scenes, man.
I know,
from
big time, man.
your life.
Yeah. So I did some. I had some irons that I kind of.
Yeah.
No,
you scraped out your own.
Pretty much, I made my own identity. But no, once everything came back, I knew, other than maybe a speeding ticket, 10 years ago, I was pretty good. So
yeah.
And
so what kind of things actually are? What kind of when they do the background checks? What kind of things are they looking for red flags? It obviously crimes, right?
Crimes, I think felonies definitely no. I want to say misdemeanors. I'm pretty sure no as well. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But they're definitely looking violent crimes. Any violent crime, you're not getting it.
Right.
So let's say you had, and this is where it's tricky. Let's say you and the missus had a dispute. Calls the cops. That goes down on the record. You're probably not in jail, TC.
Yeah. Even if that was even if there were no charges pressed, even if, or you're saying if charges were.
If charges weren't, sometimes it could be. That's why I said it depends on the town, because the chief has that final say. So if the chief said, you know what, we've been to Eric's house, 4 times, even though there was no charges. Yeah, we're not going to chance it, because what happens is if he issues you that firearm and you do something, reckless. Yeah, that's on him, because it's going to come back. Right. They're going to be like, especially with how it's easy to track everything. Nowadays they're gonna be like, wait a minute, the police will call to his house 4 or 5 times. How did he get his license?
Yeah. I mean, I know that's always been the controversy with some of these. I mean, I hate to bring up the term mass shootings, but I know that some of the people who caused some of these horrific events
absolutely
had legal firearms, right? So these weren't they bought them legally and
able to get them. That's the issue. They should have been able. So I know.
So they shouldn't have been able because some of them, do they have prior records? So they had any.
Some of them had health issues.
Where does that stand? Because I guess that's the other question too. Because I know a lot of the things that we do bring up on this podcast often is people who live with some psychiatric stuff. I mean, that's kind of an angle that we tend to take. And so where is that line drawn where there's some because I know, because again, what are they looking at in terms of their psychiatric condition, and how far can they go? Does it violate some sort of HIPAA thing, or can they really dig into your medical records and find?
So, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know if there's some sort of medical issue, it will pop up. And that can be, one of those red flags that, hold you back. But sometimes, in a lot of the more recent mass shootings, there were even, there were, domestic abuse. There was some sort of assault that was on
Right.
record where they, weren't supposed to be able to,
Mhm.
get a firearm. And sometimes, some people, it's not a perfect system. People are going to
Yeah.
slip by, the cracks,
Yeah.
and it sucks to say that, but it's definitely one of those things
Yeah.
that is gonna happen and continue to happen.
Where's your head at in terms of like where we stand with gun laws and gun rights? I mean, like I know that each state has their own, right?
It has
Is that
their own.
and then there's fed. So you're saying there is federal and there's state. So what's your kind of overall opinion? Because I know obviously we live in New England, so you can go to New Hampshire and you just fucking go to Walmart and buy a gun, right?
Yeah, that.
As long as you have a valid license.
I mean, you still.
I don't really know. I'm just fucking bullshit. I have no idea what I'm saying.
You're not entirely incorrect, but I know in New Hampshire, if you have a license, you still get run through a database. So it's not
Right.
like it's the wild wild west out there.
Right. You're just going through a fucking McDonald's drive-through and someone's handing you a couple rounds
Yeah,
and
but
a handgun.
it is a bit easier, but you still get run through a database. So like if
Yeah.
I've been to New Hampshire where friends who live there are buying firearms, and I've witnessed them still have to wait and go through the system. So it's not like they just go, "Here's my license.
Yeah.
I want that one right there. Let me have
So
it."
you can so meaning that like they can go to a gun store.
Yes.
But is the time days, or is it just like an hour or two and they can come back and pick it up?
So
Like
they stay there,
what's like
they run through the system. Even here in Mass, once you have the difference here in Mass, we actually have to have a license to carry license
Mhm.
that says that. So
Mhm.
if I went to the
Mhm.
firearm store,
Mhm.
and I purchased a firearm, they'll take my license, they'll run through all the information, it goes
Mhm.
through the system, and once everything checks out, if I'm not delayed, sometimes you can get delayed. If I'm not delayed, I can walk right out with that firearm right then and there.
Mhm.
So we're talking about half an hour tops, but in New Hampshire, you don't need you can get a license to carry, but you don't need one. You can just use your regular driver's license.
Right. So where do you stand? Which like your personal opinion? Like where do you think we should be in terms of like I mean, because I guess that's the thing is like I don't know enough about it, and I don't have enough people in my life who own firearms. So I'm not like I can't like form an opinion. I can be like, dude, they gotta tighten these fucking laws up because like there's no way in hell Scott should be owning a fucking gun. Like I can't say that. I mean, I don't think he should own a gun because I think he's a dangerous motherfucker, and I live next door to him. Because so God forbid, like if he gets pissed off at me, and if I like, I don't know, like fucking if my clippings of my lawn somehow get on his yard, he might shoot me.
Yeah.
So that guy should not have a fucking gun in his house.
Yeah.
But
I think that the hoops that sometimes we have to go through here in this state are definitely unnecessary.
Yeah.
However, I do think that education is key. I think they should definitely bring more education into the process. I don't think that having to get a license. I think they can like if they can run the same information in New Hampshire, through your driver's license, and get the same information back. I think that is as long as you don't have any serious crimes on your record or whatever the case may be that would prohibit you from having one. I think everyone legal of age should be able to go out there and get a firearm. Problem is education. Like if I educated on the subject, it is one of those things that I think that's where my hang up is. So if it's super easy and you don't have to be educated on it, then we can just go out there and grab it, which makes it definitely something that's I go back and forth all the time. I think about it and I'm like, oh, is it being super loose and easy the best way, or is it to be a little bit more strict? Is that a better way? So it's one of the things that it's consistently I think evolving.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just read you a couple things. Before as I invited you on the podcast on Monday, and so a day ago I actually put a post, a poll on the community, and I just wanted to get a sense of just some numbers, some ratios of who owns and if. So my questions were this is how I broke it down. I said flat out, I said, do you own a firearm? And it was just a yes or no. And then the follow-up question was, if no, I said, are you interested or definitely not interested? Okay. And so the way it broke down, and this is almost like what I predicted, but it's almost like a 50-50 split down the middle of who owns and who doesn't. But I guess what was the most surprising to me was that of the 50% of the people who said no, 75% of them want to get a firearm
Right now, absolutely.
right now. And I guess that's
Yeah.
and that's going to sort of lead me into like the next thing, because I mean, I'm wondering, I mean, obviously I didn't, we weren't doing this a month and a half ago,
Yeah.
because I think like if we were able to take that kind of poll like back in like October,
It'd be
I'm
different.
sure that the percentage will be down.
Absolutely. So one of the things that when I was going through the process, one of the instructors said to me, he goes, "It's best to have and not need,
Yeah.
than to need and not have."
See, I think that's what got me to buy what I got, because I think, you know, we had a quick discussion when shit started to really go down a couple weeks ago. You remember that conversation, right?
Absolutely.
And I was like, dude, I don't have a license to carry, but what should I get? And I bought that. I'll break it out again. Hold on. I like showing this thing off.
It's awesome.
Most of this show is just set up so that Eric could show this gun off. Really,
That's awesome.
Exactly.
This
I
was
love
really
it.
done.
I love it.
I have practice, by the way. So I bought a target in you know, and I put it in my backyard, and no one cared. And actually, you know, surprisingly enough, I mean the pellets like exploded when I hit the target.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I thought they would just like bounce off and just collect. I didn't realize they were just like, I mean, they go pretty fucking fast, basically.
They do.
But this gun is super silent. Like I was super surprised that it made very little noise. Just a small pop, obviously.
That's awesome.
When I pulled the trigger, but like nothing that would make it sound like anything more than like a nail gun. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of construction going on in the neighborhood, so no one would be like, dude, what the fuck? Someone's shooting a gun. Like I was really surprised by that. So I spent like almost like an hour out there playing with the scope and like dialing it in. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice work.
So obviously, you know, and again, you know, I was somewhat made fun of by this guy a podcast or two ago, because, you know, it was a pellet gun, right? And I guess what I was trying to say to him was, you know, I tried to repeat your advice, which is pretty much, you know, just get something that's gonna, you know, create some bodily harm to the person and also look fucking serious. So if someone were to break in the house,
into your house and things are coming at their face, they're gonna think twice. It's not like they're just gonna walk through it. I mean, if you know you get hit by a rock, you're gonna back away and try to reassess the situation. I mean, it's something, you know, versus, you know, one of the things that, you know, we were taught was at the time, I don't know the stats now, but at the time it was, you know, the national response for law enforcement to, you know, show up was 12 minutes. You know, and that kind of, you know, it's sunk in my brain, because I'm like, wait a minute, 12 minutes? So that means someone kicks in your door.
Right.
Okay. You call 911, and the average, say they get there in 5 minutes. Let's say they get there in 5 minutes. I always tell people, walk from the front of your door. Just walk from the front of your door to your bedroom. Yeah. How long does that take?
Yeah. A minute.
Not even for me. I
know you're on that level, right?
I'm walking from, you know, the front door. Right. It's taking me 30 seconds. So you mean I can deal with someone for 5 minutes before I need help?
Right.
So it's one of those things that I'm like, I may have to. Hopefully, you know, I never have to. And the only thing I have my for is just, you know, having fun, which in taking, you know, classes, that's, you know, I hope I go down just like that, you know.
Clearly. I mean, like, so I don't know if you want to answer this, but have you ever had to fire at a person for protection?
No, I haven't. I have,
thank God.
You know, when I was in college, I did get carjacked by two individuals with, you know, two firearms. I did have that happen, you know, but I've never personally had to, you know,
But you didn't have at the time when you were in college, like you didn't have anything with you.
I was 19 years old. I was getting out of the car from school, and you know, two guys, you know, came up behind me. One put a gun in my head, one put a gun in my throat, and that was it.
Shit, I actually remember you telling me that story.
Yeah, that was it.
It's fucking horrible.
It is horrible, man. You know, for a while, you know,
not something you forget. Yeah,
you're constantly looking over your back, but you know, it's one of those things that, you know, sticks with me to this day. I know that, you know, it's out there.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm just gonna read you a couple of headlines.
Yes,
I wrote some of these down because this is today, right? So this was part of the motivation for me to have the original conversation with you to buy that fucking rifle, that air rifle, and then the reason why I wanted to have you on, because things aren't getting better. You know,
They're
things are
not.
only
They haven't gotten
things are only getting worse.
great, but they're not getting better.
No, I mean I'm following the headlines, and also because I was anticipating you coming on the show, and so I just kept like I was just saving, and maybe I had like one every couple of days, and now literally every day I'm capturing a headline. So these are the headlines that I captured within like a 3-day span. We've got the Suffolk DA plans to release low-risk prisoners amid coronavirus outbreak.
Yep.
Right? We've got coronavirus jailbreak, 8 sex offenders freed in New York. That was another one. And these are this is not like some fucking these are like national headlines. I mean,
Yes,
these are major news stations that are reporting this. This is not like the National Enquirer or something like that.
Yep.
Accused killer sent home to shelter in place during coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, he did a stabbing, correct? If I'm not right.
Exactly. Yeah. This was the one. I think you may have sent this one to me. This was the Cincinnati police.
Yeah.
This was their response to the COVID-19 virus epidemic. So this is their official statements to the public. They said assault charges with no injuries. So these are people. This is the department will no longer send officers for assault charges with no injury. So someone could basically beating the shit out of somebody. No one's going to show up your door. Breaking and entering, criminal property damage, lost or stolen property, menacing, phone harassment. I mean, these are fucking things that can get someone killed.
Yeah, unless you're, unless they're beating the crap out of you already, and now you have bodily harm, they're not showing up. So if they're just assaulting you, and there's no bodily harm, they're not sending.
If you're assaulting someone, what's the difference between assaulting and causing harm? Like, where's that line drawn?
I can assault you with a weapon or a threat. So if I break into your house,
verbally assault.
Yeah, if I break into your house and I have a bat and I'm like, hey, get over there in the corner, and I'm taking your stuff, there's no bodily harm happening right now. It's just like
so fucked up.
Yeah, but even without the COVID-19, if someone breaks into your house and they're stealing your TV, like you physically see them stealing your TV, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have laws that I'm not saying that you should be able to take that person's life over your TV. But there's not. I mean, if you witness them stealing your TV, you kind of got to let that play out.
Yeah. Have you? I mean, clearly, with all of the training you've done, I'm sure you've thought about every fucking scenario. If someone were to God forsaken, like break into your home, so where would you draw? Where's that line for you? So, and I'm just saying, if someone were to break in, are you automatically drawing that firearm and pointing it right at him, or are you gonna like
break in? Ideally, it's hopefully communicating with my wife, to get on the phone with 911. That's like the first step.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be that in between, between my family and whoever's coming in. So I'm gonna try to make my way down my hallway, and yes, I will have a firearm drawn at that point.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I have to take their life, but it definitely, I'm gonna I'm gonna meet them.
Yeah. Are you trained, and can you get trained to be more defensive? So you might shoot, but not shoot to kill.
No.
Is that part of training, or is it always shoot to kill?
Shoot to stop, not kill. Shoot to stop.
Shoot to stop.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example? What does that exactly mean? What does shoot to stop? Like shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the arm?
Stop. Like I keep shooting till the threat stops. So
Oh, okay. So you go from shoot him in the hand, shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the shoulder, and then you're like, dude, one more step and I'll fucking shoot you in the head.
It's very, very hard to hit the target in anyway, and then under stress you're gonna kind of lose a lot of that. So ideally, you're aiming center mass, which is this area here, and you keep shooting until the threat stops. So most of the time, if you're hitting your target, you end up killing the person, but you're not shooting because you definitely don't want to, ever kind of, say that to any type of law enforcement or someone who, after a situation, I shot to kill. No, I shot to stop that individual.
Yeah. So it's interesting what you just said, though, because it's almost contradictory, because you're saying that just firing your gun at someone, there's a very high chance that if you land a bullet on a person, they're gonna die, right? Especially if you're shooting
You're shooting
at the largest center of mass, because if you're shooting at their fucking torso, you're gonna hit. You're most likely you're gonna hit, and they're not wearing a vest.
you'd be amazed.
You're gonna hit them. You're gonna hit some. What you think
You'd be amazed. You can miss.
people survive? Really?
People miss. Like you put people out on the range and you put them under some sort of stress, and the target will be 5 yards. And you'll miss.
Yeah,
you'll miss. So it's one of those things where that's where the training is important, and it is a perishable skill. So if I've witnessed myself included where I'm training with one of my instructors, and he's infamous at not sparing your feelings, and he tries to make sure that you're on cue, and he'll set us up, and he's like, this is gonna be not after you've got warmed up on the range. He sets up 5 yards, 5 shots, and you got to be able to do it under 5 seconds. And if you can't do that, that's a fail. So if you get 3 out of the 5, that's a fail, because those other 2 rounds you missed, and they could be in Billy's house next door, little Billy. So you don't want that on your conscience. So he very, very focused at making sure that you're staying super sharp.
So for let's just talk about people like us, like a layperson who right now is definitely thinking, because of these fucking headlines. I'm going to read one more to you just because it's from Philadelphia. This is one where Philly police to delay arrest in drug theft, prostitution, and other crimes. I love they added prostitution.
Yeah, prostitution shouldn't be a crime, number one.
Right. So you can just buy fucking, buy fucking cocaine. You could steal fucking whatever the fuck you want. You could pay for sex. You're good. You're golden, man.
Yeah.
You're just a part of society right now. Exactly. So I guess what I was trying to ask was, so for the person who's like the lay person like us, what would you recommend? And how many hours of training would you suggest for people like us who have never done this before?
As much as you can, honestly.
I knew you were going to say that, but
as much as you can.
Just keep going.
That's my stance. You don't have to go crazy like I did, as far as doing almost like a class every weekend or every other weekend.
Yeah,
you do 2 or 3 classes a year, and then stuff that you learn, and make sure you're going someplace that I can point you in the right direction. There's IG, which is Gregory Cruz. He's amazing. There's Paragon Training Group. There's Tactical Dynamics. They're the ones tactical got me started. 6 Hours been around for years. They're great. All those places, and I won't hold one higher than the other. They're all absolutely amazing. And there's other places out there too. There's guys that I know that started. There's one called Bang's Firearm Group. It's in Rhode Island, but they're gonna give you the information and the skills that you need. You just gotta take the information, take the stuff that you're learning, take notes, and pretty much practice, because it is one of those things that you don't go shooting for a while, you're not gonna be sharp.
And do you need it's almost like as a personal trainer, do you need credits over time? Does your license expires? Do you need to take X amount of classes, or once you get your license to carry, that you just have to keep paying the fine or the bill?
That's a great one. Your license lasts for, I think, 6 years. I have to look at say 6 years, and you can renew.
How do you renew?
Go back to the police station, you fill out the paper, pay $100.
Right. So basically, to get,
it's like your license.
Yeah. Right. So basically, to get the firearm, at least in this state, you just have to take that one safety course. Absolutely. and that's it.
That's it.
That's again, and I lean right, but that seems like that's a pretty easy.
I completely understand that, and where, like I said, it's that toss up, because for me, it's education. It's
I would say at least once a year you should to renew it, maybe every 2 years, just to get I feel like that would make sense.
It would.
Not every 6 years, and you have to do nothing.
But you gotta also realize, I know a lot of people who, friends of mine included, that went through the whole process, got their license to carry, and never bought a firearm.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who I won't.
You said never bought a firearm.
Continue to renew their firearms license just in case, but never bought a firearm.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think what's that about? What's going on with that? Scared?
Absolutely. It's scary.
Just to have one in your house, you mean?
to have one in your house, to understand that, you know, you're responsible for this. Because, you know, think about, you know, we live in a society, like, you know, you forget to, lock your car door. You forget to where you put your keys. Now you got to be responsible for, you know, this firearm. And if you've got kids, you know, you don't want to be leaving that firearm around. You want to make sure that, you know, it's locked up in a safe. You want to know that no one can, you know, get to that safe, because if they did get to that safe and they got that firearm, they did something, you know, even though as long as you report it, you're not responsible, but deep down inside, you feel responsible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You ready to go to the best part of this episode? Some show and tell?
Yeah. Let's do it. What do you want?
What do you have? What do you got?
Well, first off, hold on. First off, show and tell. That pug that's running around in the background for the dog trainer, the badass dog trainer. I want to know about that pug that I see walking around in the background, Francis. Let's talk about that pug.
Because, I mean, I know he's just a pug, and you guys think that he's not badass. Hold on.
But
no. I love this.
That pug is trained to kill.
We got to see that pug.
That pug's 6 balls, man. 6 balls.
The pug's coming on. Get ready for the pug. Francis's pug is coming on right now.
All right, go.
Yes, here we go.
There he is. All right, now
that
witness. You see, he's only got one eye, and the reason why.
Wait, is that Flutie?
Francis has a one-eyed pug.
He was in a gang, so you don't want to see what happened to the other guy. He's pretty badass. Look at that.
Get him a little closer to the camera.
What's his name, Francis? What's his name?
Puggy.
Oh my God.
Puggy. Awesome. Puggy, the one-eyed pug. That's awesome.
Exactly.
So how long? So you said 23 years. What sparked your interest in, or what got you into dogs, and what dogs have you worked with a lot in the past?
I've worked with pretty much everything that's out there. Believe it or not, I went to school to be a vet, and I'm not sure if you know this, Eric, but some people know.
I don't.
Probably gonna get me probably killed, but I'll hear it anyway. I went to school to be a vet. I was in a veterinary tech program. I'm on out of college for a bachelor's degree. And then from there, I was going to transfer over into Tufts. And that was the plan. And 2 years in, I had to do a little lesson in dog training in that program. And for whatever reason, it clicked and I loved it. And I came home and I said to my parents, I said, I think I want to switch my major. And my dad said,
man, I can only imagine what your mom would
say. So, you know, my mom and dad say, wait a minute, we're paying for school and you want to be a dog trainer over a doctor? Because, you know, that's what
medicine.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And they were like, no, that's not happening. So I was like, okay. They kind of shot that down, and I went back to school, and being the person I am, I switched my major because it was all animal classes anyway. So I was like, they're not going to know, which they didn't know. And they found out.
More animals, less medicine.
Exactly. And the crazy part is my dad, if he ever listens to this, he's definitely going to kill me. So graduation day, when they announced the School of Veterinary Science, my dad stood up with his camera to take photos. And I had to sit him down. I said, not today, buddy.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I had to switch the major. Not only that, it was they spent for 4 years of school, but the degree that I got was only a 2-year degree, which was an associate's degree. So I ended up getting, you know, a 2-year degree, and I spent 4 years in school. So I spent 4 years of their money. So I didn't get back coming my way. And that's why I said it's probably going to get me killed, because it's definitely going to rehash some old memories of my dad wanting to scramble. But
well, I have to say, I feel like you've taken care of your parents pretty well. So I'm sure that they'll forgive you at this point, don't you think?
I hope so. He's just now, you know, for a while he wouldn't even, you know, if people say, well, what does your son do? He'd be like, my son, and he would always refer to my little brother. He wasn't proud of what I did. He's pretty proud, but
yeah.
What kind of, so last question, Francis, what kind of dogs, what kind of stuff have you engaged in with working with dogs, training with dogs? Give us just a little taste of your experience and type of dogs that you typically work with.
the majority of dogs that I deal with are pet dogs, and I work on, behavior modification and, obedience. We try to really make sure that, we're really developing the correct, relationships for, owners and dogs. So that's pretty much what I do. About 2004, so about 16 years ago, I connected with one of actually the head trainer for the Boston Police Canine Academy, and he allowed me to assist in developing the apprehension portion of the police dogs that were going through his academy, and so that's how I ended up getting into the law enforcement side of canine training. And then that's what also led me down the path when one of the guys who I'm still good friends with today, he was like, this is what you need to do. You need to go here for your first class, and this is what you want to make sure that you're doing when you're handling a firearm. So he's the one that kind of got me connected to firearms. And one of my good friends who's on a SWAT in one of the local departments in the area, he took me out beforehand and kind of got me, shooting and stuff like that. And I was petrified. I'm not going to even sit here and, try to act like I was, petrified. He brought out, an AK-47, a shotgun, a rifle, a pistol. And even though I was, super interested and I wanted to learn, I was scared. But,
wait, what was the setting? Where did he show this to you?
At a range.
At a range.
Yeah, at a range. And once I went through and did it, I went home, thought about it, and I was like, all right, I definitely, need to proceed this, proceed further. And, then I started taking, like I said, started taking the classes, and I did the safety class, and I went down, got denied. And, then after I got denied, I kind of put it on the back burner for about a good 5 years. And then I was actually on, social media. I think it was on Facebook. I saw a class for this class called the Gauntlet, and I signed up.
I think I saw. Are those some of the pictures you posted? Is
that was that was a different Gauntlet. That's actually a competition. Yeah. But this was a class called the Gauntlet, and it was a 2-day thing in Connecticut, and it was like life-changing for me. I went there, and that was hosted by Tactical Dynamics, and life-changing. And at that point, I was like, okay. And they're the ones. The guy who was instructing at the time, he was like, I told him what happened with my, with my town, and he was like, I don't think that's legal. He was like, I think your U.S. passport counts as proof of citizenship. And I was like, that's not what they told me. Like, probably try again. So I went and tried again. They said, no. And then he was like, you should probably get a lawyer. I'm not saying you should get a lawyer, but you should get a lawyer. Well, he was like, we should get a lawyer. And I did that, and everything.
Yeah, you got. So I want to tell Scott, but I've seen some videos where because he also teaches a protection course. So we're talking like the biggest, baddest fucking dogs that most people can.
Yeah, what are we talking about? German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois. What do you like better? What do you like best to work with?
My favorite's gonna be a German Shepherd, but Malinois has grown on me, and I had a Dutch Shepherd for a while. They're all great. Just depends on the temperament. But if I'm gonna have to pick one, I'm definitely gonna go with German Shepherd.
He's got some fucking sick videos, man. You're gonna have to send me some of those. Like, if you wouldn't mind, I think people would love to see that shit in action. Yeah. I know every time I say, I'm like, what the fuck? Because these things are like, he's wearing a protective suit, but like these fucking beasts are just flying at him like full speed, and they're just like fucking gnawing on his arms and legs and shit.
Oh God! Once the dog's in there, we want him to fight. We don't want him just to hold on. If the person's putting up a fight, the dog's going.
It's funny because like when we talk about it and people say it's a protective suit, I go,
oh yeah, well you still get hurt
because you get bruised, you do get punctured.
A lot of pressure, yeah, a lot of pressure coming down there.
Yeah, and I'll end up going home sometimes bleeding with people like, I'm wearing protection. Yes, like just imagine, like, I mean, when you've been bit for real, you're like, the protective equipment is definitely, I'm thankful for it, but sometimes like, man, those dogs can really bite hard.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what you got. What do you got? What do you got going? What do you have to show and tell us about?
So I mean, I just brought up 3 firearms. Pretty much, I carry a pistol on me on a consistent basis. Just like that is safe and good. There's nothing in the mag. There's nothing there. but it's just a Glock 19 that I carry.
So you have that with you at all times?
Yeah, I usually am. You know, if I'm going out, head somewhere, I'm usually carrying that.
Yeah.
And this is a Mossberg, you know, pump shotgun. Also, you know,
it's fucking sick. So you don't keep these loaded, obviously, in the house, right? I mean, obviously, the one on your waist is
usually loaded. My
usually loaded,
and my rifle is usually loaded.
Really?
Yeah, but if I'm doing some sort of, you know, demonstration, I always want to make sure that I'm, you know, safe and clear, just so you know.
What the fuck is that thing?
This is my home defense rifle. Also, you know, nothing in the mag,
right.
Nothing in the chamber. So this is my rifle for home defense.
So what do you what's that thing called?
It's called an AR-15.
That's the AR-15.
Yeah. So
fuck.
This is my favorite home defense gun. It's because it's, you know, it's definitely suitable for.
How much does that weigh? Is that pretty lightweight?
Light.
Light.
It's light. It's easy to shoot. So not only could I, you know, handle it, my wife could handle it.
Yeah.
So, you know, she definitely, you know, if something happened to me, she could, you know,
pick it up and so is your wife also certified, licensed to carry?
Yes.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
She was not thrilled about that, but she definitely she's she was definitely not thrilled about it, but you know, hey, you probably want to do this, and finally, you know, she fought me tooth and nail, but eventually she, you know, she did it.
So I know you've become somewhat of a collector. When you buy guns, are you doing it now as a hobby, or are you doing it because, I mean, like when you're, because I know it's obviously it's an expense, it's an investment. So what
now I bought a firearm in, I want to say, over a year or so.
Yeah, but how many do you have?
I have a lot.
I know you got a lot.
I got a lot. Before it was you know, they're like little toys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're
like that what's it, AK-15 or AR-15?
AR-15.
Yeah, that's a fucking little toy. I'm gonna buy one of those for Lucas for his birthday.
You know, but you end up, you know, initially, you know, you don't need, you know, a lot, but you know, after a while you start collecting. And when I was I ended up working for a firearms training group. One of the things that we did offer is just like how when I got started, is some people don't have firearms and they're interested. So like, you know, like you and Scott could, you know, pretty much, you know, come out and, you know, take the class. And even if you didn't have a firearm, you could borrow or rent a firearm, you know, depending on the class they were taking. So if you wanted to take Rifle 101, but don't own a rifle, you know, I could bring out, you know, 2 rifles so that you guys could, you know, utilize and, you know, get the training in. And so that's how I got started, where I was using other people's equipment for all those classes before I could buy my own. Like, I mean, I would, you know, borrow, I'd go to class, you know, no firearm, borrow someone's gun, one of the instructor's guns, you know, I'd have to pay for the ammo, obviously.
Yeah.
And there was also a rental fee of the firearm, but I was able to get the training in.
Yeah.
And, you know,
so that's going to be it. So the minute that this shit starts to slow down, I need you to call us and say, all right, everything's back open. And this is the thing is like, we need your direction. I want your direction. I want to make sure I know what we're doing, and I want to take all the right steps. I don't want to just take some random course just to get the license to carry. Like, I want the education, and I want to do this right. So like the minute you know that we're back in the game, just like, you know, give me a call, give me a buzz, and we're just going.
We can definitely set that up, and, you know, I'll be happy to take you guys out on the range and, you know, teach you guys, you know, the different platforms, and, you know, go from there. And then I'll point you in the right directions. You know, one of the things that I regret doing, I had my instructor's certification so I could teach the safety class, but I let that expire. I did not renew it. And I wish I did, because then what I could be doing, you know, is I could be still teaching, you know, classes and certifying people to get their license throughout the state.
Get recertified and then fucking train us.
That's the plan. You know, once this is all over, I will, you know, get recertified, get my certificate, you know, up and running, and go from there. But it's definitely something that I would highly recommend to everyone. If you can legally, you know, possess a firearm, I'd say there's no reason not to, because the one thing we tend to do is, as people, we go, yeah, because we don't really have a need for it. Like, right now there's no need. And then all of a sudden something like this happens. And, I had many people, not just yourself, but I had many people go, hey, how do I get a gun? Like people call me and say, can I just go to, the store and buy a gun? I'm like, they're like, what about the gun show loophole? I'm like, dude, try again. It's not going to happen. Like you have to go through the process in the state of, taking a safety certificate, and then applying. And that process, I can tell you right now, once this is all said and done, because we don't have an end in sight right now, unfortunately, I guarantee when it is up, back and running, it's going to probably take about 6 months to a year before you get the license, because it's
like a waiting list, basically.
Not just a waiting list. It's going to be a bunch of people who go, I want this, take the class, and it's going to be such a
just the processing of the paperwork, you're saying, is just going to
be behind doing everything else. There's still stuff that's supposed to be processing right now that's not being processed because everything's shut down. So it's going to be a long time. So if you not,
well, you know what? I've waited 42 years, so I can wait another.
Absolutely.
I can wait another one.
Yes, I definitely would recommend. It depends on the town. Some towns are quick, man. Sometimes, like I said, my friend's town, he did it, and within a month he had his license. Like, dude,
shit.
He's like, oh, you waited. I waited a while before I got mine.
Yeah. All right, Francis, we're gonna let you go, brother. But this was fucking highly educational. I really enjoyed the conversation. Fuck, man. Like, I'm super excited about getting this fucking shit done for myself and to be able to protect my family, because I know that's fucking air rifle is not gonna do crap.
It's something, man, and
it's something, right? I'm happy that I have it, but I know it's not what I need to protect my family, and I think that's the motivation. With all these fucking headlines that are coming out, and obviously you and I, our dialogue, it's just like, shit's happening right now.
Absolutely. One more thing before I go. The other thing is, like, don't ever rule out, mace or pepper spray. Those are, definitely extremely important. But also, if you do get your license, now that tasers are legal in the state of Mass, you need a license to get a taser. So that's another thing. So people, were calling me and or asking me, they said, hey, how do I get a taser? I know they're legal. I'm like, you need your LTC for that. So you're still going to need your LTC to get a taser if you decide that you want to go, taser out,
Always dropping bombs, man. Knowledge bombs.
Thanks for the education, Francis.
Dude,
thanks, Francis. I really appreciate your time.
No, it was my pleasure.
All right, man. Love you. Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Fuck. Did you enjoy that?
That was an hour.
I know. That was big, man.
It's a lot.
I didn't stop recording.
Oh, you didn't stop recording.
No,
Excellent.
motherfucker.
Excellent.
I wanted to shut this down.
No, that's good. That's a lot of
no,
that's a lot of content. That's good.
I mean, like, again, for all those who made it to the end, this wasn't obviously clearly in line with what we typically do, but I think just based on current events, and just for just my own personal craving for this type of knowledge and education, like it was, that was awesome. I don't know, I got a lot out of that. So I hope you guys did too. Any final words?
No, that was no final words here.
All right, guys. Peace. Take care. We'll see you next time.
What is this?
Is it over?
We're running out of time.
I don't want to hear your excuses.
Oh,
no, it's not fair.
Where'd all the files go?